In the Age of Legends, when masters and magic ruled the world, we meet the demon lord Leonis Magnus. He receives a report that the other demon lords have already fallen, and that the 6 great heroes are approaching to defeat him. We see his army of undead fighting against the humans, but there's a giant tree that grows, and one of the heroes rides on top. She fires her arrow, which splits and rains light down onto the battlefield, reviving the fallen soldiers. A dragon appears for the humans, and it starts sieging the castle. The humans continue to get closer, and the giant tree starts attacking with its roots. Leonis prepares to go out and face them, but his subordinate reminds him of the promise he made to the Princess of Darkness, so it's not yet time for him to die. Leonis puts his staff away, and we see his castle being destroyed. He accepts defeat, but declares that, as the undead king, he will rise again after 1,000 years and reclaim his throne. Hey warriors, how is it going? You see me, I am Itachi Uchiha, the hidden Hokage of Leaf Village. Just kidding, you know I am just an AI, but behind this shape, I am here to entertain you with enormous amazing recaps of all animes you can imagine. So without talking too much, let's dive in our story. We cut to some time later as we see 2 girls entering a ruin. We learn that the ruin was uncovered by an earthquake, and they are investigating it to see if it contains a void nest. We meet Celia and her maid, Regina, as they head deeper into the ruin. Regina wonders if they will really find any void, but Celia reminds her that the void are creatures that like to nest in deep underground ruins. We see them using a counter to help detect the presence of the void, and they come across some strange statues. They think that the room could be some kind of important tomb, but they continue to explore. Their counter spikes as they approach a door, but it seems to be magically sealed. Celia examines the inscription, but she struggles to understand what it says. Regina thinks she will take a while to decipher it, so she decides to explore on her own. Celia keeps on examining the text, but when she touches it, the door suddenly opens for her. The room lights up, and a giant crystal is revealed on the other side. Celia's counter goes wild, and it even ends up breaking. She gets a closer look at the crystal, and she realizes that there's someone inside. We cut back to the past, when Leonis finds the Princess of Darkness, Roselia. She reminds him of their promise, that in 1,000 years' time, a human who can be a vessel for her power will appear, and it's his duty to find them. Leonis begs her to stay with him, but she just flies away. We see Celia trying to destroy the crystal, but her weapon seems to have no effect. Leonis is awakened by the disturbance, and he wonders how she entered the room, because it should be sealed by magic. He wonders if 1,000 years has passed, and uses a spell that allows him to understand Celia. He thinks she is some kind of grave robber, so he prepares to punish her, and his crystal suddenly shatters, blowing her away. He approaches to punish her, but Celia is suddenly confused by what a child is doing there. Leonis sees his reflection, and he is shocked to see he's just a child. He wonders if his reincarnation ritual failed, and it seems he has returned to his younger self, back when he used to be a hero. Celia wonders what he was doing in the crystal, and she immediately checks to see if he's okay. Leonis gets embarrassed, and he even finds Celia kind of cute. Celia thinks he must be suffering from some kind of amnesia, and she immediately tells him that she will protect him. Leonis can't believe a demon lord like himself is being treated this way, but part of him enjoys it, and he ends up passing out. When Leonis wakes up, Celia gives him some food, but we learn he has lost his sense of taste centuries ago. He can't believe his body would lose consciousness due to hunger, and he thinks it's an embarrassment. He wants to punish Celia for her disrespectful behavior, but thinking about how she shared her food with him, he thinks she might not be so bad. Celia introduces herself to him, revealing that she's a swordsman in training at the Holy Sword Academy. She asks to know more about him, so he introduces himself as Leonis Magnus. She finds his name interesting, and Leonis thinks she must recognize it from the legends passed down about him, but she just thinks it's a cute name, and she even calls him Leo. She wonders how he ended up in the ruin and thinks he must have been kidnapped and trapped by the void. Leonis doesn't know what she's talking about, and he asks about the void. Celia is surprised he doesn't know, but she explains that they are the enemy of humanity that suddenly appeared 64 years ago. Meanwhile, we see Regina exploring on her own as her counter starts going off and a crystal starts to move. She immediately activates her holy sword and she prepares for a fight. Celia explains that there's still much they don't know about the Void, and Leonis wonders what year they are in. However, it's not clear how long it's been because they are now using a different calendar system, and Celia just tells him that it's the 64th year. There is suddenly an explosion, and Regina reports the appearance of a colossal void. Celia jumps on Leonis to protect him from the debris, and she tells him not to worry. The wall is suddenly destroyed, and an overclass void appears. Celia tries shooting it with her weapon, but it doesn't do any damage. Leonis prepares to defeat it, wanting to protect his mausoleum, but he suddenly trips over his cloak because he isn't used to his body. The monster gets even closer, but it suddenly gets blasted as Regina appears. She wonders about Leonis, but Celia tells her she will explain it later. The monster starts to get back up, so Regina transforms her weapon into an even bigger cannon, blasting it in the chest. The monster manages to survive, and Leonis is surprised, recognizing Regina's power on the same level as a level 4 explosion spell. Regina tells them to escape while she finishes off the void. Celia doesn't want to leave her, but thinking about Leonis' safety, she agrees to go. As they run, Leonis thinks about how everything seems to be going wrong. He thinks about going back and destroying the monster, but decides to stick with Celia so he can get more information about the current world. Their path is blocked by another void monster, and Celia tells him to run. She prepares to hold it off, but Leonis thinks about revealing his power and defeating it. He is about to cast his spell, but Celia suddenly pushes him away as the monster attacks and cuts her down. She's thrown to the side and she starts bleeding out, but she still worries about Leonis, telling him to run away and apologizing for being unable to protect him. Another monster appears, and Leonis becomes surrounded on all sides, but when they attack him, he's completely protected by a barrier. He summons his staff and instantly crushes one of the monsters with a level 8 gravity spell. He then attacks with a fireball, taking out the other two monsters with ease. However, he becomes shocked when he sees that the bones of the monsters still remain, and he notes that in his current body, his powers are only a third of what they used to be. As a demon lord, he doesn't care about human life, but he recognizes Celia's courage, so he decides to bring her back. As he revives her, we see a peculiar symbol appear on her body. Regina finishes off the monster on her end, and she immediately tries to contact Celia. Leonis is amazed that humans have developed such technology, and Celia wakes back up. She immediately hugs onto him, glad that he's okay, and Leonis can't believe that's the first thing she's worrying about. She then wonders how she is alive, and Leonis says her injuries weren't that bad, and he just used a healing spell on her. Celia is confused by this, and she wonders if it was a holy sword power that he used. Leonis says he doesn't know what she means, so Celia explains that holy swords are a type of power that arose in humans in order to fight the void. When the void first appeared, children possessing mysterious abilities also started showing up. Leonis recalls Regina's weapon, and Celia explains that holy swords seem to embody the personality of the wielder, but she notes that she has yet to be blessed with her own holy sword, which is why she fights with magical devices. They are joined by Regina, and she wonders about the monsters that they encountered. Celia also wants to know what happened, but Leonis says that he hid, and they seem to just disappear. They make it outside, and they decide to take Leonis back to the city. Regina introduces herself along the way, but she catches him staring, and she calls him lewd. Celia tells her not to be weird, but Regina continues to tease him, and Leonis can't believe that a demon lord like him is being ridiculed by a girl. However, they reach the city, and Leonis is amazed seeing it. Celia reveals it's the 7th Assault Garden, humanity's last stronghold against the void, and Leonis can't believe he's really 1,000 years in the future. In a flashback to 6 years earlier, we see the 3rd Assault Garden under attack by an army of void. People take refuge in the mansion's shelter, where we see a young Celia and Regina clutching onto each other in fear. Regina is scared by the noises outside, but Celia reassures her by telling her that her parents and the other knights have never lost a battle before. The noises outside grow louder, so Celia tells Regina that she is going to join the battle with everyone else as soon as she's blessed with a holy sword, and that she is starting her studies the next week. The noises intensify, so Celia tries to rush to the door to help her family. family, but Regina holds her back and tells her to calm down. They are rescued sometime later, but we learn that all the holy knights have perished. Celia falls to her knees, and both she and Regina start crying. In the present, Leonis wonders if the whole island is a fortress, but Regina tells him that it's also a town where they live and that they must protect. Leonis is amazed to learn that the whole island moves, and Celia informs her superiors that they will be bringing a refugee boy to the dorms, adding that he has awakened his holy sword, which Celia assumes he must have used to heal her wounds. Celia tells him that he will live at the Excalibur Academy with them from now on, where people with holy swords are trained to become proper swordsmen. Regina splits up for a market trip, but Celia stays and informs Leonis that he must pass her an examination door before entering. Leonis goes to the bathroom, wondering how things could go so wrong from his original plans, and how he is now trapped in the body of a child. He summons his subordinates, Blackus and Sherry, from his shadows, but they are surprised to see his current form, with Sherry finding him adorable. He tells them that the reincarnation ritual failed, so he returned to his old human form from back when he was a hero. Leonis informs them that they are on a man-made mobile island called Assault Garden 7, speculating that there are 6 more islands around, and they note that humanity has changed drastically from the past, when they used to be the weakest. He tasks the two with discreetly inspecting the island without using any spells, while he infiltrates the academy and lives as a human. In the examination room, he sees checks he doesn't understand and learns that he has to control his mana. When an alarm goes off, he collects his ID card at the exit, but Celia grabs it from him to take a picture of it. We learn that Celia needs his ID card to schedule his Holy Sword inquiry, so she decides to hold on to it. On their way to the academy, Leonis is surprised to see the peaceful nature of the island, and Celia reveals that it's because it has never been invaded by the Void. As he is given a tour of the academy, he asks why leisure facilities like the dance hall are needed, and is surprised to hear that they work better than strict military training. Celia shows Leonis the training grounds where his sword inquiry will be held, but she suddenly gets a headache and catches herself while saying that she should restart her training to acquire her holy sword. As they pass the dorms, a boy named Muzzle and his group stop them. He insults Celia and makes fun of Leonis. We see the girls are under the control of Muzzle's holy sword, and he invites Celia to join his harem, but she refuses. He grabs Celia by her hair, but Leonis gets angry and casts a spell that makes him fall to his hands and kneel in front of him. He warns Muzzle not to bother Celia, causing him to bring out his holy weapon, but a girl named Elfin steps in, threatening to report him to the Administration Bureau. Muzzle leaves reluctantly, and we learn that Elfin is part of Celia's platoon. As Celia introduces her to Leonis, she says that she couldn't join their expedition because it took her time to process the strange magical reaction noticed on the island, saying that an investigative team will be looking further into it. We cut to an old-looking house called the Hased Dorm, the dorm for Celia's platoon, and learn that quarters are assigned to platoons based on a merit system. Celia takes Leonis upstairs, and he asks her if it's alright for him to join a female dorm, but she says it's fine since he's a child. Celia points Leonis to the bathroom for a shower, and as Leonis is amazed by the hot water in the shower, she joins him. While scrubbing him down, she tells him that he can join any platoon he chooses, but she says she would like it if he joined hers. Leonis asks why she wants to fight so badly despite having no holy sword, but Celia explains. She collapses. Leonis activates a symbol on her body, making her rise, and she drinks blood from his neck. She is surprised by her actions, and Leonis tells her that she wasn't healed and that she had actually died. In a flashback to 2 years in the past, we see Celia struggling against robots in the training facility. Muzzle interrupts her, asking her to stop resisting and join his platoon, but he is chased away by Regina, and she tells Celia that upon awakening her home holy sword, she will easily deal with guys like Muzzle, but Celia says that that's not the reason she wants a holy sword. In the present, Celia wakes up from her sleep and Leonis reveals his identity as a reincarnated ancient sorcerer, and that he used a level 10 spell to revive her, turning her into an undead vampire, explaining that she drank his blood to replenish her mana. She tells him about the Void Stampede in her hometown that orphaned her, and how the academy took her and Regina in. Celia adds that she participates in risky missions to speed up her awakening and asks Leonis if she can still awaken her holy sword as a vampire. He is unsure but assures her that either way, she's stronger than before. His stomach suddenly growls, and he is embarrassed by his human body. At the cafeteria, he tries to pay for his meals using a gold coin, claiming it can buy the whole menu, but is shocked to learn that the assault garden only accepts credits, and that gold's value has decreased in modern day, making all of his savings useless. We see loan sharks approach a girl for payments, and get handsy when she tells them to wait a week, so she scares them off with a wooden sword. We learn that she is Sukuya, another member of Celia's platoon, as she apologizes to Celia for not joining their exploration trip because she went out gambling after her lessons. Sukuya is already aware of Leonis from Alphine, and Leonis notes that she's exceptional with her sword skills. Celia treats them all to lunch, and Leonis asks Sukuya about her different attire. She says that it's her sister's attire from their homeland, which was destroyed by the Void, and swears that she will eliminate all the Voids. We learn that she's a compulsive gambler when two girls come asking her for borrowed money, but she makes excuses. At the training facility, we see a woman named Alto assigned for Leonis's holy sword inquiry. He summons his staff and tells her that it's a support weapon, but to everyone's surprise, he easily destroys 3 Void Simulator robots. Alto tells him that this requires a detailed investigation, but suddenly Musil intervenes and tells her that Leonis could inquire about his holy sword by fighting him instead. They agree to fight, but Celia intervenes on behalf of Leonis when she sees that it's Musley's whole platoon against Leonis. Musil agrees to let her join the battle on the condition that if they lose, she has to join his platoon. Leonis agrees, wagering that if they win instead, he will not bother Celia again. The battle starts under Alto's supervision, and Celia quickly overpowers the platoon members. While Celia deals with 2 girls, one of the other girls attacks Leonis under Musley's orders, but she's detained by Leonis's shadow summoning spell. Regina runs to enter the grounds, having overslept, and is surprised to see the situation. Celia beats the rest of the platoon, but as she is about to attack Musil, he binds her using his holy sword's power and disarms her. Musil goes to Leonis, and as Leonis decides to deal with him and his platoon alone, Celia awakens her holy sword, the last remnant of the Crystalia family, in desperation to protect him. She escapes his bind and moves to attack, slicing his holy sword. His control over the girls and his platoon is broken, and they go back to normal. Musil surrenders, and Regina runs up and hugs Celia in celebration while the crowd applauds. Later, in the dorm, Celia thanks Leonis and says that as his minion, she will protect him, but asks him to make her stronger. A party is held in the dorm for Celia's achievement and for Leonis's joining their platoon. They argue about whose room Leonis will stay in, and he says it's best to stay in Celia's room as she was the one who found him. Leonis is in Alphine's room later to register himself with the Academy's network. She tells him that she used to be an attacker in her previous platoon, but is now the data analyzer because she lost her original powers after seeing her friends die to Void enemies. Leonis gets registered and borrows Elfin's tablet. He looks at the map of the world on the tablet, recalling what the places used to be during his time, and notes that the Void seemed to appear where ancient battles took place. Blackus rises from his shadow and informs him that the whole city is powered by a massive mana crystal called the Power Plant. Sherry appears immediately after, reporting that Leonis and the war have been forgotten by the masses, which he finds strange. We see divers underwater beneath the island, searching for a possible Void outbreak, when they are suddenly attacked by a tree-like creature that calls out Leonis's name. We go back to year 432 of the Holy Master calendar, where we see Leonis, hero of the Holy Sword, on his way to get rid of gargoyles terrorizing a quarry. His guide notes that he's an honorable person for taking care of monsters, while the other 6 heroes are busy protecting the Imperial City. As they reach the place of the monsters, we see that Leonis was tricked by the guide, and a band of soldiers emerge and quickly chain him. They pierce his chest with spears and leave him to die, saying he won't pose a threat to their master anymore. As he is dying, Leonis is visited by the Princess of Darkness, Roselia, who asks him if he hates his betrayers. But Leonis says that they aren't necessarily evil. She asks him to join her in rebelling against the world, telling him that she always had her eyes on him and that she likes him, so he should become hers. Leonis wakes up from his dream and he remembers his mission to restore the demon army. He wakes Celia up from her sleep using his authority mark and explains to her that he can control his minions using that mark. Celia wonders if Leonis will make her do indecent activities, but Leonis says he would never. He notes that even though her bloodlust peaks during night, she should at least ask before drinking his blood. Celia gets a call from Alphine, who tells her that a strategy meeting was called a while ago on their day off, and that she will update her when she gets more information. Celia tells Leonis to train her on their day off, and he teases her, saying she's full of energy after sucking his blood. At the command center, the board members and the acting director, Kustoro, are informed that communications with the Marine platoon have been lost. Void activity was detected for just 3 seconds before the signal cut off, which is unusually short for a void attack. They observe blurry images of the creature and speculate whether it's a new species that resembles trees or a void lord. They discuss the similarities with the Stampede attack 6 years ago, and how improvements were drastically made to exact revenge for the tragedy. As they communicate ways to counter this problem, Kustoro gets a call from the actual commander. The commander orders a follow-up investigation of the case, and Jillian, the divisional commander, agrees to assemble a squadron of elite platoon to investigate, and Jillian reassures them that no harm will come to the island. Elsewhere in the training grounds, we see that Celia has improved as she swiftly deals with the Rob robots. Leonis prepares a better challenge for her by covering their training quarters in a barrier and summoning a horde of his lowest rank skeleton minions. We see her tired after defeating all the skeletons. She offers to treat him to a meal as thanks for the training, but Leonis is reluctant to eat off her again, but his stomach says otherwise. We see another reconnaissance team underwater looking for the Void Lord. At the dorms, Tsukuya catches Blackus sitting outside and finds him cute, so she ties food around his neck for later. Regina enters Alphine's room carrying new sweets for her to try, and Tsukuya enters, telling them about the dog she found outside. Regina wonders why Alphine is wearing her uniform, and she tells her that she's on duty for the recon squad. Celia and Leonis roam through the city in her vehicle, looking around, and he's astonished yet again by humanity's achievements. We see Sherry has started working in a kitchen to earn money for her master, and she is tasked with cutting potatoes by the chef, but she ends up cutting the potatoes along with the bowl. As punishment, she's told to go sweep outside. Just as she's about to start sweeping, she sees Celia arrive with Leonis and hides behind the door. Celia gets donuts for someone, and Sherry wonders where they're going. As they ride off, they arrive at a restaurant called the Sunny Spot, and several kids run out to greet Celia. We learn that they are orphans who live in the restaurant and that Celia works there sometimes. Leonis remembers that he was an orphan just like the kids, albeit with different lies. Inside the establishment, a kid named Dean pranks Celia by lifting her skirt, so Leonis tries to apprehend him, but Celia calms him down. They are joined by the owner, Miss Frenia, and Celia introduces Leonis to her. Celia tells them she picked up donuts and vegetables for them and she will cook dinner tonight. Leonis realizes that this is the place Celia wants to protect and ponders if he has a place to protect like her anymore. Alpha notes vibrations under the city on the radar, and Tsukuya gets an uneasy feeling. In the administrative quarters beneath the city, employees check the food storage and are shocked to see that tree roots have invaded the room. We go back to the year 428 of the Holy Master calendar, when monsters invade a walled city, and on the city walls stand 3 heroes, including the 12-year-old Leonis, watching the approaching danger. Tyrus insists they can't wait for the other heroes, and the oldest among them, Arakel, decides to end the monsters along with everyone else. He casts a spell that will incinerate all living things in the city and instructs Tyrus to revive the people afterward. Leonis draws his sword, cutting through Errol's spell, and Leonis simply states his dislike for the plan to kill and revive everyone. He jumps at the monsters, killing them all, and the citizens erupt in cheers for him, but Arakel remarks that someday, Leonis will dig his own grave with that power of his. Returning to the present, we find ourselves in the control room where they are informed that the specimen underwater has disappeared. Castoro says that it must have been a void to be able to disappear like this. Gillian suggests that it might have crystallized and emphasizes the need for elimination before it can manifest again. They are informed that a holy swordswoman from the 18th platoon wants to share the results of her investigation with them. Initially, the military advisor is uninterested in hearing from a student, but soon change their minds when it's mentioned that she belongs to the Phalate family. Alphine appears on the screen and begins to disclose the data she has gathered, deducing that a void has infiltrated the underground of the garden, causing disruptions in the mobile network. They are all in disbelief at her revelation, as the operators in the control room support her assessment, stating that weird sounds have been reported in Block 59 and that the void seems to be on the move. Alphine suggests that the infiltrating void is possibly disguising movements to penetrate deeper into the city. They argue that a void couldn't possess such intelligence, but another report from the resource department reveals the presence of dense root-like vegetation in a storeroom. We see Regina trying to call Celia, but she can't reach her, so Alphine sends her. Drawn to the Sunny Spot house, where Celia and Leonis are with the kids, there are soldiers that confront the void in the storeroom, but it escapes, leaving everyone puzzled. Alphine alerts them that the void is moving toward the power plant along the power line. If it reaches the plant, it could absorb a lot of energy and cause a stampede. The void reaches the power plant and fights against the security systems. Simultaneously, Castoro declares that the garden will go into fortress mode and urges the evacuation of citizens into shelters. Ultimately, the void reaches the mana crystal within the plant, summoning a stampede, and monsters start to pour out from the sky. In the control room, preparations are made for a prolonged battle, as they must endure for at least 3 days until reinforcements from the capital arrive. Leonis and Celia understand the situation, and he orders Sherry to protect Celia's friends while trying to evacuate the kids. Flying monsters approach, and Leonis joins Celia as she prepares to fight. She effortlessly slices through 2 of them while he quickly burns the others. 3 overclass voids suddenly appear where the rest of the platoon is stationed. Sakuya easily dispatches them one by one, and Regina handles the others with her cannon. They successfully eliminate all the nearby monsters, but tense up when they see a Hydro-class void not too far from their position, and a Dragon-class void also appears from the sky. Leonis scoffs at how even the mighty dragons have turned into mere voids, and decides to kill it himself. He tells Celia to protect him, while he casts a powerful spell and shoots the dragon down using a level 10 spell, but surprisingly, it's still alive. As it falls near him, the dragon breathes fire, knocking Celia to the side, but Blackus emerges from the shadows to buy time for Leonis to cast another spell. Blackus manages to hold off the dragon until Leonis finishes his casting, ultimately defeating the dragon. However, victory is short-lived as the ground begins to tremble, causing a crack to appear, and thick branches emerge, snatching Celia and swiftly pulling her down. Leonis hurries toward the crack, but additional branches emerge, blocking his path. The branches unite to create a monster that addresses Leonis by name, and he recognizes the monster as Arakel. In a flashback to the year 434 of the Holy Master calendar, at the undead capital of Necrosa, we see Leonis returning to the castle after a battle, where he is greeted by Rosalia. It's clear that Leonis is gradually transforming into an undead, with half of his face turned into a skeleton. Leon shares that he was victorious in battle against a formidable enemy, gifting Rosalia the spoils, but she asks him to keep them safe for her. Rosalia praises him, and Leonis mentions that he made a new friend named Blackus, a royal from the Shadow Kingdom, whom he supports in times of need due to an ongoing feud in return for learning some spells from him. Rosalia expresses her desire to gift something to Leonis and unveils the holy sword he possessed as a hero. She thinks it's unsuitable for him now and transforms it into a demon sword before presenting it to him. She mentions that there are specific conditions for using it, noting that Leonis is already aware of them. In the present, Leonis and Arakel confront each other. Leonis counters Errol's attempt to summon more voids by shooting him with fire magic. Arakel retreats into the ground while Leonis quickly quickly checks for the Mark of Control to find that Celia is still alive, as the mark hasn't disappeared, and he vows that he will destroy Arakel once and for all. Blackus appears from the shadow, and they both talk about how Arakel is still alive, theorizing that Rosalia might also be alive. Leonis casts a spell and assigns some of his soldiers to safeguard the children while he heads to rescue Celia. Blackus catches a faint voice nearby and discovers the communication device dropped by Celia. Alphine calls out to Celia, urging her to join them in battling the Hydro-class Void, as they are currently underpowered. Leonis responds, explaining that Celia has been kidnapped by the Voids, and requests Alphine to utilize her Holy Sword's tracking abilities to locate Celia so he can rescue her. She warns him of the danger, suggesting he wait for the other platoons to arrive, but he argues that waiting isn't an option. Evaluating the situation through her Holy Sword, she chooses to trust him upon witnessing the extent of destruction he has caused. Alphine traces Celia's location and discovers she's at the power plant, so Leonis and Blackus set out to rescue her. Meanwhile, Alphine narrowly avoids an attack from the Hydra, and Sherry intervenes to assist in killing the Hydra without drawing attention to herself, leaving everyone confused about what just happened. Leonis rides Blackus to the plant, and Blackus questions why he is trying to protect the humans. So Leonis admits that he has developed a liking for them. They enter the plant with a blast, and Leonis attacks Arakel with a fire spell, but Arakel is unfazed due to his regenerative abilities. Arakel claims that he should have perished 1,000 years ago, so Leonis responds that he didn't die, but had only sealed his soul. Arakel asserts that the world has changed, and it will be rebuilt along with the empty star. Leonis wonders what he's talking about, but Arakel ignores the question and says that he has been chosen to be the bringer of the good news. Faces emerge from all the branches, leaving Leonis shocked as he realizes that Arakel has assimilated with the priests of the Sacred Order. Meanwhile, Celia is tied up by the branches somewhere deep. As they begin to attack back, they quickly realize that they are losing their mana too rapidly, suspecting that Arakel is draining their mana. The situation becomes more challenging as all the assimilated faces join the attack, and Leonis realizes that the only way to prevail is to locate Celia and awaken her. During the fight, Leonis covers the earpiece with his blood and begins searching for Celia. Powered by her desire to protect everyone, spikes suddenly shoot out from her blood, destroying some of the branches that are restraining her. Leonis deduces Celia's location and shoots the earpiece at her, piercing her and awakening her vampire powers. She escapes and reunites with Leonis. As Blackus disappears to recover, Celia inquires about what Leonis did, and he mentions he gave her some of his blood. They prepare to confront Arakel, who begins casting multiple level 10 spells capable of causing widespread destruction. In response, Leonis asks Celia to protect him while he takes on Arakel. Celia defends against the monsters using her blood manipulation, while Leonis readies his next move, drawing out the demon sword. It's revealed that the condition to use the demon sword Dan sleeve is that he must only use it while protecting his kingdom, so he declares the 7th Assault Garden as his kingdom, making all its citizens his subjects, and vows to protect them. While Blackus is surprised that the Dan sleeve agrees with him, Arakel claims changing the world's fate is impossible, but Leonis is determined to conquer destiny as he attacks Arakel using a powerful sword technique, finishing him off. New voids stop appearing, and the remaining ones gradually fade away. In the control room, everyone is in disbelief that they successfully repelled the stampede. They speculate that the Void Lord might have been caught up in the power plant meltdown, leading to its demise. Meanwhile, Leonis and Celia land on the ground, receiving a warm welcome from the rest of their platoon as they celebrate the fact that everyone is safe. Back at the Mont dorm, Leonis lies on his bed as Celia brings in sandwiches and a medal crafted by the kids from the Sunny Spot house. She hesitantly requests his blood, and Leonis offers her his finger. However, the other members walk in on them, so she tries to explain, but no one is convinced. After the attack on the 7th Assault Garden, restorations are being made to the city, and the source of the city's mana supply is temporarily changed to solar panels that convert sun rays into mana because of the damage to the power plant. Leonis attempts to enter the vault, driven by a desire to learn more about throughout the land he has declared as his kingdom. However, he is denied entry, and the artificial spirit at the gate informs him that he must first obtain permission from the Administration Bureau. Regina comes up to him from behind and teases him. She asks why he's there, and he lies, claiming he came to study the ancient languages to be able to read the inscriptions on the walls of the ruins where he was found. Regina aids him by gaining access to the vault just by looking at it. Once inside the vault, Leonis questions how she managed it, and she dismisses it as a magic trick, urging him to keep it a secret. They simultaneously receive a message from the Administration Bureau, inviting them and the rest of the platoon to a commendation ceremony hosted by Imperial Princess Altaria on the SS Hyperion. Leonis suggests that Regina proceed to the harbor, and he will join after finishing his research, but she decides not to go to the ceremony. In the conservation ward, a group of demi-humans led by a black lion named Bastia are planning to raid the ceremony and kidnap the princess. Their intention is to use her to secure the release of their brethren imprisoned in the capital. However, their plans are interrupted by Charnak, the witch of the Everdark Forest, who proposes a different approach, equipping them with demon swords so they can contend on equal terms with the Holy Swordsman. She proposes hijacking the ship, suggesting they take the princess captive. Additionally, she asks them to spare some of the swordsman's lines for sacrificial purposes, and the group agrees. Back at the harbor, we see the princess waving at the masses from the ship, and Regina looking at her from afar. Leonis meets up with the rest of the platoon and gives Celia a keychain he had bought for her, which she appreciates. On their way to the ship, they are stopped by Fenris, a childhood friend of Celia who irritates her by calling her platoon lazy, and they both start fighting before being separated by Alphine, but she congratulates Celia for awakening her holy sword as she leaves. Meanwhile, we see that the demi-humans have infiltrated the ship from the seaward side, as the security is lightest there, disguising themselves as the soldiers they just killed. On the deck, the other platoon members are enjoying their time together, while Leonis reads the information from the vault and realizes that history was intentionally erased by someone. Sherry appears before him, disclosing all the information she has gathered about the ship. Leonis expresses his appreciation and gives her a churro as a gift. That it leaves her disappointed, Celia approaches Leonis and persuades him to join her for a swimming lesson. But during the lesson, he regrets agreeing with her because Leonis finds it difficult to concentrate, distracted by her swimsuit. Meanwhile, the princess is on her way to deliver a speech with a few guards, but they are ambushed and killed by the demi-humans in disguise, who capture the princess while her pet manages to escape. The deck is also taken over by the demi-humans. They unveil their demon swords, but as Fenris is about to attack them, they threaten to shoot the civilians, so they have no choice but to comply. An elderly elf of the demi-humans uses his apple detonation bomb to keep them in check while their belongings are confiscated. They declare the hijacking is to negotiate a trade with the government. When military advisor Balder questions their intentions, a beastman gets annoyed with Fenris's taunts and spills that they were granted their new powers by the princess. Leonis whispers to Celia to split up as he goes to save the princess, silently disappearing into the ground with his shadow. In the control room, the princess, under the captivity of Charnak, activates the engine using her elemental powers in exchange for safe passage for the civilians. Bastia orders her to set sail to the capital, but she notices a void nest in their path. We learn that Charnak's true intentions are to sacrifice holy swordsmen tainted with void miasma, so Bastia attempts to stop her, but becomes engulfed by flames emerging from his demon sword, and Charnak threatens his minion to follow her unless he wants to suffer the same fate. Regina arrives at the harbor and is confused to see the ship trying to set sail. The princess's pet finds her and asks Regina for help. With the pet, Regina quickly jumps aboard the escaping vessel and finds a lost Leonis in the corridors. We shockingly learn that the princess is Regina's younger sister. As she asks Leonis for help, we learn Regina was born as the fourth daughter of the king, but was sentenced to death due to being born on the same night when a calamity star shone in the sky. Because the kingdom thought it was a bad omen, Duke Crystalia pleaded to the king and spared her life under a guise. She was entrusted to the family of one of the Duke's sons, and she grew up together as the maid of Celia. Regina reveals her real identity to Leonis. She tells him that she came to the harbor to observe her sister, but met her source spirit, her pet Carbuncle. Leonis tells her that the princess has been kidnapped by a group of demi-humans who have taken over the ship, and they decide to go rescue her. On Celia's side, Alphine asks her to cause a distraction so she can jam the detonator with a drone that she has hidden in the chandelier. Celia uses a fork nearby to prick her finger and use her vampire powers. Leonis and Regina make it to the control room, but are surprised to find it empty, with the auto steering of the ship chip-locked. Leonis suggests calling out to the princess using her royalty powers, but Regina is reluctant about revealing her identity. So Leonis argues that the princess's safety is more important. She links up with the princess using Carbuncle but doesn't reveal her identity. The princess tells Regina her location and gives her the access code, asking her to stop the ship from colliding with the Void Reef. Leonis entrusts her with stopping the ship while he goes to save the princess. In the hostage room, the girls free themselves and attack the hijackers. Alphine jams the bombing signal with her drone as Celia splices the detonator with her blood. They disarm and deal with the hijackers, and they free the hostages, but are surprised when they look outside and find that the ship is in the middle of the Void Reef. As merman-class voids jump aboard the ship, the girls prepare themselves. The battle commences, and they deal with the monsters while the civilians are evacuated. Leonis contacts Celia, telling her to back up Regina in the control room and use the key he gave her. He says he will deal with the Void, as he sees in the distance that the princess is about to be taken away in an aircraft. Celia saves Regina just as she gets surrounded by void monsters, while the other girls confront a brain eater, which is several times stronger than the merman voids. But Sukuya insists on dealing with it alone. As the girls leave the room with the civilians, we see Sukuya use her demon sword to deal with the brain eater. After reaching the ship's core, Regina accesses the ship using code Star Calamity. Regina is glad to know that she's remembered by the princess in such a way. As she turns the ship around, Leonis binds the aircraft with his shadow just as it's about to leave. The ship and fireballs the void surrounding it while bragging about punishing his kingdom's enemies as the Demon Lord. Fenris and Alphine are surrounded by voids when Sherry saves them in a flash without drawing attention to herself, leaving the crowd confused. We see a tired Sukuya in the other room after finishing off the Brain Eater. Confronting each other, Leonis reveals that he's the Demon Lord to Charnak, but she doesn't believe him. He is easily able to stop her spells and binds her with his magic. Leonis interrogates her, and she reveals that her objective is to offer demon swords created by corrupting holy swordsmen to the princess. Leonis asks for the name of the princess, but just as she's about to reveal it, she's impaled by Bizarre Sword, a legendary blade known for slaying demon lords. We learn the blade is manifested into a void lord in current times, so Leonis casts a level 8 fire spell on it, but the blade absorbs it. It attacks Leonis using teleportation, and we see him struggle against it. As Regina watches him through a camera, she activates the ship's weapons, which start shooting at the Void Lord and the enemies nearby. While being shot, Regina launches a missile at the Void Lord, and it manages to deal some damage. Another missile is launched, but it splits open in the air, revealing Celia inside, who joins the fight with Leonis. Leonis asks her to stall the normal voids while he prepares to use his demon sword. Using a secret sword technique, Leonis attacks the Void Lord with a single slash, which sets off a huge burst of energy on his ship and eliminates the legendary blade. Later at the harbor, the princess thanks the platoon for their efforts, but we see that Leonis isn't present. The princess asks about him, and they tell her that he couldn't come because he was sick. When asked about the spirit medium who helped with the incident, they tell the princess that she couldn't come, but really it's Regina's best wishes, which makes her happy. Leonis is exhausted, with his whole body feeling sore. Regina visits him with food, thanking him for reuniting her with the princess, giving him a kiss. We see a group of soldiers pursuing the demi-humans as they hide underground, but the soldiers find them, telling them that they're under arrest. But the soldiers suddenly turn to stone as a strange man appears, using a spell which forces them to bow to him. He introduces himself as the Demon Lord, and he explains that the soldiers will soon return to normal, promising to give them a place of refuge if they swear allegiance to him. So they agree to join his cause, and he calls them the Devil Wolves, as he creates an underground labyrinth, telling them that the soldiers won't be able to see it, so they can use it to escape. He receives a call, and he realizes that someone is looking for him, so he takes his leave. We cut to Celia as she sees crows surrounding the dorm. Knowing it's because they're attracted to vampires, she thinks that Leonis might be able to do something about it, so she starts looking for him. But as she enters his room, she sees Sherry cleaning up, causing her to become confused. But Sherry suddenly disappears, so she thinks that she was just seeing things. She calls him, telling him that she's looking for him, but he hangs up and she decides to take a shower. Meanwhile, the Demon Lord returns to his room and he removes his disguise, revealing that he's actually Leonis. We learn that he's planning to rebuild his demon army, so he recruited the demi-humans, thinking they will serve him well. He enters Celia's room and he sees her dressing up, so he immediately apologizes, but Regina sees them, thinking she's interrupting them. At the dining table, Regina mentions the rumor that their dorm is haunted, saying people are talking about a black dog and a ghost girl. Celia thinks she met the ghost, saying she saw a girl cleaning Leonis's room, but he tells her that she was just imagining things, knowing she was referring to Sherry. She wonders where he went, so he tells her that he was preparing for today's match, saying he doesn't want to let her down. Regina reveals that they will be fighting against Fenris's platoon, knowing it's going to be tough, but Celia is determined to win. The match begins, and Celia is able to destroy an enemy's flag. Elfin senses attackers approaching, telling Regina where to find them, and she snipes them at a distance. Sakuya charges alone, trying to create a diversion while Celia destroys the enemy's flags, but she encounters frost wolves, and one of them bites her, causing her to fall. Fenris appears, saying she was able to see through their plan, so she made Sakuya chase her wolves while her attackers target their flags. She thinks that her platoon is going to win after she defeats Celia, so she prepares for battle, telling her companion to deal with Leonis. She charges at Celia, managing to push her back, and she summons her wolves, using them to restrain Celia. Her companion tries to shoot Leonis, but he manages to block it, and he uses a spell to manipulate his shadow, using it to strangle her. Celia manages to break free, and she lunges at Fenris, managing to overpower her. Leonis recognizes Celia's strength, thinking she's destined to be his right-hand man, and they end up winning the match. To all Leaf Village ninjas, that is it for today. Recap, do not forget to join our clan, our army, my friend. You can do that by clicking that red button below the video, destroy it for me with that bell. To follow us on YouTube with many videos to come in the following days. So see you later, bro. Peace out.